Alrighty, here we are with Genshin Impact's OST album Vortex of Legends. Before we jump into this video, I just wanted to say that I am not using my VTuber model for a little bit, as I have some stuff going on in real life right now. One of my really good friends just passed away, so I am kind of just doing what feels okay for now, and we're testing the waters. But today what we're going to be doing is a music analysis, and for those of you who don't know, I have an extensive background in music. I used to go to music school, but I've been playing violin for 17 going into 18 years now, and I wanted to take that time to go through songs in the games that we know and love and analyze them and break them down a little bit. I will try my best to not overanalyze in this one, that way it won't be as grueling and long of a video, but let's just go straight into it. Oh, this one is one of my favorite songs when playing in Dragonspine. The way it's so simplistic and then it feels so melancholy. Like the way it feels damaged. It feels damaged like the land of Dragonspine itself is, where it's cold, mystical, and it creates all of those elements within it as well. And as you hear, like, it's almost as if the piano is like falling like snow. Like you hear the flurries just falling down gracefully, some of them larger than others. And that's the thing, right? Is like, I mentioned this previously, was that when you're listening to a piece, think of it like the sections are speaking to each other. There's a conversation being had, and we get the joys of listening in. And here you'll notice is that it's like the crying out for rising. You hear like that B note hit, that A note hit from the violins as it rose upwards. And it's something that it creates the feeling of ascending, of rising upwards, while the snow still falls down on you. And I just love that feeling that it kind of creates there in Snow Fairy Tales. Alright, next part we're gonna get is Fragile Fantasy. Da, 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 da. This one, whenever I heard it, I always felt like it was a sad love letter. And I know that sounds strange, but that's what it feels like. It feels like someone who's writing a love letter to someone who, maybe it's an unrequited love, maybe it's a letter that you'll never send, but it holds that feeling where it's like these decaying notes, right? These like diminishing notes that go da-da, 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 and it's just the way it fades out, because if it held true, right, it's like da-da, 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 it would hold a different sort of tone, regardless of it being in a minor key or not. It would hold a different tone. And I think that's like one of the beautiful things about this, is that it feels as fragile as the title says, because of how the notes fade away each time and just lull you into the next part. Oh wow. That's something that'll always like blow my mind, is when a flute player comes into a song, because symphonies are so different than orchestras, and I played in orchestras for many years, but symphonies are something I played in only temporarily. So whenever I hear a flute, I'm just like, whoa, where'd you come from? What are you doing around these neck of the woods? Oh, wow. Hold on. Did you hear that? You'll hear that, just the faintest sound. It's like almost like a twinkle. You'll hear like the xylophone in the background. Da 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 da. And then da da. It just for a moment. Only for a moment they let that happen, and I love it because they've had it established. They've done it a few times now. They've added additional instruments, but the thing that I find that Genshin does really well, and also Honkai too, is that they leave out intentionally certain sounds and instruments and leave it for later on within the song and reveal it almost, and it creates this very like refreshing appeal, so that if you heard a song on repeat, it never truly feels old. You would just be feeling the exact same. Oh, and like bringing it back to like to a love letter, right? Where it's like, I imagine like walking, holding the letter, and feeling heavy in your hands. And that's the reason why we've gone down in pitch, where it's like the contents of the letter is light. So it's like da 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 da. But it has a heavier step. With each step you're taking, the cellos are going, okay, it's weighing heavy on me now, but I'm holding this light in my hands, which is like the twinkling of everything else. And I love that. It's so great. Dun, dun, dun. As we step forward, each step taking us forward. Still, the fragile letter in our hands. And us finally delivering it. That, or putting it away in a box and never looking at it again. Alright. Chattering Snowflakes is one of the more interesting ones, to say the least. The other ones have such a different atmosphere, and I always was thrown off whenever I approached the song in the game. And like, it's more of a synthetic feeling. It feels very manipulated, which is something that I'm not used to from Genshin. So it feels so almost out of place to a degree, except for the fact that tonally it still matches. And it becomes whimsical, where it's just like da 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 da, and like it's like if you took pizzicato, which is the plucking of strings, if you took that and then threw a bunch of like reverb and dampened it to high hell, and it's just a very weird thing to encounter. But it makes it fun in a way, while still saying with a very like sad, melancholy sort of tone to it to a degree, which is something that's very hard to achieve because pizzicato is meant to be light and fragrant, and you're supposed to feel like it's like a bouncing, lulling feeling. You can do sad pizzicato; it exists. You can do it. Mind you, this is not that, but usually the finger technique is completely different as well when you do sadder versions of pizzicato. So, it's kind of a little bit of that one. I still am always thrown off by this one. It's like da, da, da. Like, it just feels so different. But I like it because like chattering snowflakes makes sense for the reason why it's like so abrupt and like hitting in like that way. Serene and sweet adieu. For those of you who don't know, adieu means goodbye. So a serene and sweet goodbye. This one I feel like will always have a soft spot in my heart. I imagine like, you know when you like sway your arms back and forth, but the tips of your fingers, they always have like a little bit of a delay, right? So you'll like swing your arms in like a swooping motion, and you'll watch your fingertips come back downwards, and like as if it's going through water, it drags behind. That's how I imagine this song. It's like the swinging of back and forth, almost like a pendulum, where when it hits the peak, it takes its time to come back down, and it has like that little moment of bliss in between. Glistening Shards is super cool. This one is just super cool. I love the way they implemented this for like how do I put, okay, I'm trying to think. So what it's doing, right, is that you hear the accenting notes that are kind of coming in and making a statement, like dun, 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 right? But there's like a flourish of flurries of snow everywhere, and you get to hear all of that too within it. And that's so incredible to like have that like da 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 da. Meanwhile, the strings are just going to town on that E string, you know? Like, you hear them just chiming in. Whenever someone hits a C and a B note and they just hold that with, like, all of the vibrato, it, like, hits your soul. It's just so good. I love that. Just simple notes in the background carrying through. So, Oblivione would be probably one of the pieces that I find is, like, I guess one of the more sadder ones compared to the others, because rather than creating the flurry of snowflakes and the whimsical pieces that we felt before, this one goes for more of, like what I like to think of like the part 2 to the love letter, right? Where the person on the other end reads it and reads it with a heavy heart. Almost like Albedo's heart, right? Where Albedo, he, to a degree, is removed from interpersonal connections with people because of his fear of being evil, of being something that needs to be stopped, a force to be reckoned with. And or even his final line to the Traveler in his mission is like, would you be able to stop me? Would you be willing to stop me, basically? And that's what I feel from this. It's like the heavy message from Albedo's heart, where it's like, it's the strength behind it, where before we didn't find that strength before in previous songs. And yeah, I feel like it just kind of like creates a message. Da-dun, dun, da-dun. I love that. I love whenever like you feel like a flourish just in moments, especially when you slow things down and take your time and hold notes. Like it just, I don't know, it creates so much more dynamic within the piece. Abiding chills. Oh. Yeah, when you go higher up in Dragonspine. This one changes the tone of the entire map when you go up higher. And that is something incredible. For you to be able to still, for our brains to still play Dragonspine and feel that this is Dragonspine when we're up in higher altitudes and have the song playing is brilliant. Like you feel like you're on the top of a mountain in like in a vast opening or on a ledge, and it sends chills through you out of like the rockiness, right? And oh, it kind of just makes me think of like the dragon underneath the mountain. Menacing Cove is cool as well. Cool because the dragons might get it cold. Menacing Cove is cool. One of the things I liked about it was that it felt like icicles, right? We talked about flurries, we talked about snow, we talked about how certain notes and the way in which notes are performed create this sort of fluttering down feeling. When you have more static and abrupt notes like this becomes like shards or hail intentionally, right? So you hear this, and there's no longer the lulling diminishing of notes where it goes ba ba, stuff like that. No longer. We're having abrupt moments of icicles, of hail, of snow, of frostbite, things that feel a lot more menacing, a lot more vicious, right? Which is why menacing is the perfect word for Menacing Cove, and why you even get frostbite in that area when the song plays, and why like the temperatures drop. It matches it super well. So and when it comes down to it, is that Genshin does a great job at understanding its environment in relation to its piece. And Dragonspine, I think, is one of their best executions of doing this, which is why I was so excited to do this music breakdown today. Striding in the Snowstorm. Now this one is cool in a different sense, because I keep saying that, but it's redundant, but it's true. They all have like a very unique trait to them. We're stepping away from the harshness of the ice, and now we're getting back into like as if the winds are sweeping you, and quite literally, because now we're using winded instruments, right? The winds are sweeping you, and it almost feels Nutcracker-esque, where it's like you're taking a stride and the winds are enveloping you, and like how the snowstorm kind of plays part into that is that instead of it being like flurries or snow falling down or icicles or hail falling down, you're now enveloped in a massive gust of wind, and it's completely rushing over you and carrying you through. And you hear this, and the reason why you hear this is because of the winded instruments being able to create that, and the fluttering between your first and second winds participating in that piece. As I said before, sorry, I had to cough. As I said before, imagine different sections and different instruments speaking to one another when creating a piece. That's what's happening there when we were getting the snowstorm. Now this is a very peculiar, new word, term for this title, Sinister Mist. Now, sinister, being like evil or foreboding or bad, is a term that I normally would not have associated with the song until further listening in. And the reason being is that you have this vibrato on your cellos that is like, that's ominous. It's an ominous feeling. And the rest is just simply a mist. And it's just what the words are is describing just a little taste of what that song is. In the Desolate Hallway, this one, I'm so glad we finally get to go to. The last one I was like, but this one, when I think Dragonspine, like obviously think of the main theme, but Desolate Hallway is like, when you're entering into Dragonspine, it sets the tone. And like the magic of Dragonspine itself, because of it being literally a dead dragon's corpse, it matches that. And I think that when I take the time to like hear it being established, it's very interesting, because unlike where we feel like there's a lot of snow or a snowstorm or a lot of those things, it's just a few flakes falling down. Da, 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 da. But everything's about the journey, and it feels like it's more about the journey than anything else. The Flourishing Past is probably one of the cheekier pieces of Dragonspine. If you're going to talk about something being a little jokester, a little trickster, I imagine it being this song. It is so funny in the way it approaches Dragonspine. Like, ba ba ba. Like, It's like imagine like a hilly churl poking out its head around the corner. It feels like that, like ba ba ba. And I think that's really cool. It feels like the life of Dragonspine, like the creatures that live amongst there, even the Fatui. But like it's like that part where before you interact with them, before you throw hands with them, it's like them existing and just being them is what that feels like, and it's so cool to be able to have that. And I think that also creates like this almost beauty where like everything is living and everything like has its own lives going on before the traveler comes in and kills them for their parts, which is super weird. But you know, it kind of I keep saying my bad. It has conversational pieces, which I like. And the song ended saying I have to move on. Okay, I finished Frescoes. Oh, this part. Yes! Yes! So when you like enter in, this is like super close. Okay, sorry, I love this one so good. If there was going to be a lament in Genshin Impact, this would be damn close, right? And that's what I love about this, is that it feels pain. Like, it feels like it's crying out, but not in the sense of like no, I can't, like, type of moment where those would be more drawn out. It's like a desperation. And I love that. Like, because it creates a lulling, but doesn't go for diminishing. And then it goes into this part, where it's the reply back, where it's the response to that part, right? And you have these two parts dancing alongside each other. Da, 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 da. And there we go again with what I talked about before, where it's the offbeat note, right? Not on 1 and 3, but on 2 and 4. The ba-da, ba-da, da, where it creates the lack of note on the first beat creates a more of a falling down scenario where it doesn't feel like, because when you put on the first and third, it creates either linear or rising, where it goes ba ba, right? But if you go to a offbeat, it goes ba da ba da ba da, right? What we talked about before, it's like the off note, the off beat, and same thing applies here as well. I love that. I love that they always go in the second and fourth note. It just creates such a great dynamic. What do we have coming up next? What's cooking up next? Spine of Ice Crystals. This just feels like the other cheeky one coming back. I won't lie. This feels just like the other one coming back. Ba, 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 ba. It's like you're cheekily running around and stealing stuff. Da, da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Ba, da, da. The thing about this is that, just like a lot of Genshin's music, it becomes period pieces. I love period pieces. But it's so interesting to see them go into this direction, because this is like a very Renaissance vibe. And it's something I didn't really expect out of Dragonspine. Especially with their other musical choices they made. because of how, I guess, how diverse the area is. But at the same time, I mean, it's a masterpiece in and of itself, right? To be able to have such a dynamic and have so many different styles of pieces play for a same area and still accomplish a very similar goal is something to definitely pat yourself on the back for. Finale of Snowtomb. If pain could be incarnated into a song, it would be this. Like, this is pain incarnate. It hurts. And it hurts in a way that's, I would say, inexplainable, but it feels explainable to the point where it's like every note is held and pulled into the next. Like, where the bow begins and ends does not matter. The consistency stays true throughout each note going into the next. We don't have diminishing notes. We don't have held off notes. We don't have notes that feel abrupt, or we don't have pizzicato. We don't have any of that anymore. It's cut out. We're now holding one into the other, creating a smooth line of transition intentionally, where the bow's beginning and end does not matter, where it all leads one note into another, which makes things feel longing and pain, and it's something that it does really well here. Right? Even there, right? Before we would feel the flourishes where it'd be like, dun da da da. You would always have the pause in between. No longer. It's eliminated now. Things are always tying in together. Oh, my heart. Oh, my heart for that part. Oh, just go back for a second. The pain into what feels like a swan with a damaged wing is what it feels like after. Like, the hurt has been done, the pain has been caused, and now we're trying to pick ourselves up. And though we're meek and we're fragile, we're trying, and there's this passion within us, and then you feel that with the flute coming in. Da, da, da. And normally that tonal would be used for a moment of triumph. So to use it in a scenario like this is something that is such an incredibly delicate choice to make. And I love that they did that. And then held on it too. Brilliant. Brilliant. Once colored memories. This is the same as the song from earlier on in the set. Probably just more fleshed out now. One of my favorite songs from Dragonspine. 100%. It's hard for me to talk during this one because of how well made it is. Sometimes it's not about the presence of instruments, it's about the absence. And having one piano, holding each of those notes and having them fade softly. Da, 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 da. Oh, just so good. Just so good. Forever will be one of my favorite ones. And here we are in the final song of Vortex of Legends, Moonlike Smile, which does resemble another piece of freebies on in this album, but I feel like it's like the perfect way to end an album, right? you brought us down to this place of gentility, and you're continuing it. The thing I like to talk about a lot of times is concert performance. And in a concert, the first song will be your best song, your last song will be the second best song you have. And that's usually how it's made. And then the songs in between can vary. The dead middle ones are the ones that you usually are the most forgettable. So intentionally, they put songs that will leave you with a feeling at the first song and the last song, because that's what you're going to remember the most when carrying something away. So when thinking of that, this is like you're walking away from Dragonspine, and that's the feeling you're supposed to be getting. Like your journey is now taking an approach where you're walking away. And I feel like it accomplishes that super well. Anywho, for those of you watching this as a YouTube video, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to love yourself, love the people around you, and always drink water. And make sure to love yourself as much as I love Shao. That's all I really have to say. I hope you guys subscribe or like the video and stick around for more stuff. I really like doing music breakdowns, so I might keep doing these. I hope you guys like them too. And hopefully if anything, they'll make for some good falling asleep to videos. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Thanks.